Olive Tree Group owns and operates 17 restaurants and pubs in 5 states across the country. From authentic Northern Indian cuisine smack in the middle of the bustling KL city centre to gourmet Asian fusion style bar food in a cigar and whiskey bar nestled among the clouds in Genting Highlands, the Olive Tree Group prides itself in creating F&B experiences that never disappoint. But this success story did not happen overnight. There were trials and errors in finding the secret formula to running a successful F&B business, let alone 17 of them spread across 5 states in the country. How did he do it? This is Open for Business. My name is Audrey Raj, founder and executive director of the Olive Group. Leslie Gomez is with me today, and we're about to squeeze every bit of wisdom on hospitality and F&B out of him over the next 30 minutes. Aren't we, Leslie?
Yes, we are.
Okay. Just to get started, you founded the Olive Tree Group some 15, 16 years ago, right?
Yes.
And this passion for F&B stemmed from your time in the hospitality sector in your early years. So tell us a bit about your background and what led you to start this F&B group.
Well, I did my master's in hotel management. So from the Taj Group of Hotels back in India, I did my education down there. And it's been, I would say, almost about 22 years now after I finished my degree. I graduated, did my basic training in the hotel industry. So we are back from the old school of hospitality. So was working here with another group, and I left them and then started off in 2003. That's where we started off the Pride of India in Athamas. And over the couple of years, we have grown. It took a while, 3-4 years, to start the next outlet, but it came with a lot of ups and downs, turbulence up here and there. But then I think from 2010, I would firmly say that we started to get our roots planted down the ground firmly, and where we are at the moment, actually.
So it all began with the Olive Tree?
Yeah, no, the first outlet was the Pride of India, but then we rebranded it in 2007, the Olive Tree, actually. That's because we were into the main business was partly tied up with tourism Malaysia. So catering to tourists from India, Middle East, European. So why the Olive Tree was basically not to be known as a total Northern Indian restaurant by itself, which turns away certain people away as tourists. The Olive Tree sounded very well, which was catering to the Wasma market, actually. So then we started to diversify after that, actually. So then we came up with the Olive Kitchen Bar, where we started to flex our muscles into the bar industry also.
Right. And how did this expand into all these outlets that you have today? Where did the ideas and the concept, was it just fluid? Was it natural?
I won't say I never had a plan in 2009. I was never a bar guy. I was always a fine dining kind of a person, actually. But then I would say sometimes you see things and you want to put your foot into it because you're already from the same industry, but you just need to learn the other side of the bar, because I think the bar industry is something where you can make and break. It's not me, it's the people who run it for you, actually, especially the bartenders. So I would say that slowly I made a lot of mistakes at the start, actually. I had a good team working for me. And then I would say we did take it up from there slowly. We opened up Sutraa in 2009, actually, in Changkat, Bukit Bintang. When Changkat started to slowly evolve into more of a dining area. That time in 2007 was just hardly 3 or 4 bars around the street. But today you look at Changkat, Bukit Bintang, it's about 37 bars on one street itself. You never get that anywhere else in KL. So the idea is, because I travel, I try to source a lot of, when I travel, I go around, I sit around, I watch what's happening, I buy ideas, I put them together, and I would say, because I do the layout and the pre-planning and everything, so it's basically it's a one-man kind of a thing. So I don't have to ask people, how should I do this? So you make mistakes. I've made mistakes, and I start to learn from that. And today we have a brand. We have Rock Bottom as a big brand, the Rockafellers as a big brand. I think it's you got to be people friendly. I think so. When people start to like you, they start to follow you. So I think that's the hidden secret, I guess.
We're going to come back to the lessons you've learned in just a bit, but I'm going to put you in the spot now. Can you name all 17 of your outlets?
Yes.
Okay, let it rip.
Okay. The Olive Tree. You have Sutraa, WhyNot, Temptations, Rock Bottom, Rockafellers, Rockaway, Rock Bottom in Bangsar, Barshack in Bangsar, Rock Bottom in Desa Park, the Olive Kitchen+Bar in Penang, Beach Bar in Penang, Olive Kitchen+Bar in JB, Rock Bottom in JB, and Rock Bottom in Malacca, Rockafellers in Genting, and Rockafellers in Changkat again, and Wow in Genting.
Okay, so I don't know if that is all.
17.
Is it fair to say that Indian cuisine is an underlying commonality between most of your outlets?
It is in some of the outlets now, but that also because if you take on Changkat, we have 6 outlets. I can't be doing Northern Indian all the 6 outlets. So what we did is we tried to modify a bit. We went into European. The latest outlet in Changkat, we put ourselves into British and Irish food, actually. So getting in new chefs, new ideas, trying to see what the market really needs. That's I always look at that. Instead of being an owner, to be a spectator, as a person who comes and dines there and see what really is needed at the place, actually. So a foray is into different cuisines now, actually. European, Western, Northern Indian. But still Northern Indian is my... I would say my very stronghold because I've basically learned a lot on that, actually. Northern Indian is something which I will always hold on to.
Okay, I understand that the Olive Tree Group has hired chefs from India to come up with the menu for its restaurants.
Yeah.
Why trust non-Malaysians in determining what would appetize Malaysians?
Sometimes when you talk about Northern Indian food, you really need the cuisine to be cooked the way it is. Many of them modify food, but when you start to modify food, you don't really get the essence of it, actually. So I would firmly say when I used to work at somewhere else, I don't want to name the place, the Western years when I used to come and, the food is great, this food is great. Northern Indian food is not about mildness or it's creamy, no. Yeah, today if you go to the UK, you can't play around with Indian food because everyone knows what's Indian food. Chicken tikka masala is the national dish now, actually. Yes. So they have learned what Indian food is all about. So why do we bring people from there? It's basically just get the real structure out of it, actually. I have locals who work for me, but then I can't totally throw it to them and tell them, okay, get it the way I want it. So you need to have the heads and then the tails behind that. So
you're just striving to keep it authentic.
Yes, very much.
Okay. Not all the outlets under the Olive Tree Group are restaurants, like you mentioned earlier. You have pubs, clubs, gastro bars. Managing these outlets must be a tad bit more challenging than your restaurants. Is that fair?
Very much, yep.
What would you say are the main challenges?
Everything. I think every day is a new challenge, actually. Yeah. What's finished is finished. The next day starts again. Yeah. You can't sit on laurels anymore. You can't tell yourself, I did it, and it's going to be the same way. It's a big group. Sometimes when you're in the limelight is the worst part. Everyone knows you. You don't want to be known for wrong reasons. Everything. I would say it's a mixed package, I would say. It's a blend of good, bad, and ugly. And it's a competitive market altogether.
Yes, it is. Because the F&B sector itself is so competitive. But then in this line, with pubs and bars, it's a different ballgame.
Getting your license in place, the first thing. The second thing is competition is neck deep, staying alive. So I would say every day is a challenge. Yeah.
How important is food or a tasty menu to these businesses, to the bars and the pubs?
I would say different market segments. If you take Changkat, it's a different market. You go to Bangsar, it's a different market, actually. I would safely say if you want to talk about food, Bangsar is something where you can really talk about because you get a mix of the locals down there. If you go to Changkat, it's more of the expatriates and everyone. So testing nerves will be basically Bangsar, actually. So people know you. People come there for the quality of food, and it has to be maintained the way it is, actually. People are picky on a few things, but then that's the way it is.
I'm speaking with Leslie Gomez, founder and executive director of the Olive Group. When we come back, we discuss failures and the painful lessons Leslie has taken in stride surviving in the F&B industry. This is Open for Business. We'll be right back. BFM 89.9.
Bring forth money. BFM 89.9.
This is Open for Business. My name is Audrey Raj. I'm speaking with the founder and executive director of the Olive Tree Group today. His name is Leslie Gomez. Now, the Olive Tree Group operates 17 F&B outlets across the country like Olive, Rock Bottom, Temptations, WhyNot, the Beach Bar, and Rockafeller, to name a few. Leslie, having opened outlets in KL, Penang, Malacca, JB, which are all very competitive F&B markets, why do you think the franchises under the Olive Tree Group, why are they doing so well?
Probably it's a lot of teamwork together, yeah. Partly because I'm also on the ground from the industry itself. What we learned is basically not sitting back home and getting the work to be done. You do the work yourself, and then the team follows you, actually. So it's basically, I would say, we've finally put up a team where the back office is strong enough to support the operation side, getting work done in the morning, and when your outlet opens up in the evening for business, so everything's in place. And probably the locations, actually. I would say we need human traffic around. People say, you can open up in the forest and people will follow you, but not now, because basically if you don't get parking, they don't come back to you, actually.
Yeah.
So the main thing is now it's human traffic. You need to know, you can have the best brand, but the best brand needs to be also in the best place, actually. We look at places which caters for us. Genting was something we really worked on for many years. And then, with the grace of God, we got a place in Genting, actually. And you're putting foot into something which you don't know. With Rental's Eye and how the business is going to be, if people are going to accept you down there, because it's a different market segment, actually. But then I think when you take a brand there, you've got to have confidence on yourself. You've got to have confidence on your brand itself. Will the brand work? We tried it out. My first outing was in JB. We went there in 2013, if I'm not mistaken, actually. And Olive opened up there. We worked on for 1 month, 2 months, and then slowly it started to pick up. And then what I understood is basically people travel from KL to JB. So when you go to JB, I know this brand there. They are in safe hands. Okay, they know you. Sometimes they call you personally. I'm here. Okay, can you just let the manager know? So that I think it's something which really works with me is because it's a personal relationship. I'm not really a person who's people friendly. I am reserved myself, actually. If you talk to me, I talk to you, actually. So I think it's more for how people know you, and if people think you're good enough, you've been here for 15 years, I think we have gone through all that ups and downs, and people know you today, who you are. People know the brand. I got people go to Penang, they go to Olive, they go to Genting, they say, okay, I'm Rockafellers. So it's I think it's more of a relationship, which is now, actually. People follow you because they know you.
You've built that trust over the years.
Yes. It takes a lot. You get the bashing also, even from your own friends. If the day something goes wrong, I don't get a discount. Early morning, 4 o'clock message or 3 o'clock message, I settled the bill, I have no discount. All that is part of it, actually. So the good and the bad is there.
So you heard it. Be friends with Leslie. You get a discount even at 4 a.m. Okay, Rock Bottom especially. It's a sports bar, and it's one of your most popular outlets. There are several in KL itself. You've got Changkat, Bangsar, Desa Park City, and you have a couple more outlets in Johor and Malacca, like you mentioned earlier. Why is this particular concept doing exceptionally well?
I would say food, drinks, sports, and entertainment. Like in the older days, you go to dine in one place, you go to party in one place. But today what's happened is I think people have started to understand, I do not want to travel anywhere. We want to have a circle in everything inside it, actually. So what we created with Rock Bottom is basically you come early, you have food, the bar is open, you got a pool table, there's some live sports going on, and then the band comes up, actually. So I think the concept is because of that, and people come there is because also the entertainment part has to be good enough, actually. The couple of bands who go up on stage, it can screw up a night, and it also can cater back to people to come back to you again. So I would say entertainment plays a very big role in what we're doing. Yes, food and F&B also actually. But then I would say as a package by itself, the first outlet was in Changkat and then Bangsar. Bangsar was something which I said, let's give it a try. Bangsar was quiet those days in 3 years ago. It was a scary part when we really opened. It was quiet and everything. But today Bangsar is back to
it's glory days.
Glory days. Let's keep it that way. But then, yeah, I think Rock Bottom is Rock Bottom and Rockafellers now, which we're creating another brand called the Rockafellers. Actually, it's a sister concept of it. We wanted to go into franchising, but we put that for a hold for a while. It's just keeping the brand very safe. I think people have accepted it. People already know what Rock Bottom is. I open up in Desa Park, so we have a different segment of crowd there. Desa Park is more of a family crowd. They don't like that kind of banging music, so you got to be very careful in what kind of music you play there. The band's going up there, and also the food we serve, because we have catered it both to Northern Indian and European together actually. So you can come with a child, you come with an elderly person. We cater to both actually. So.
All these businesses under the Olive Tree Group didn't just mushroom to succeed, did they? I mean, were there any failures that led you down the right path?
I think everyone has to go through failures to get that little success, overnight success, and when you're thrown up from there, many people do not know how to hold failures nowadays, actually. Either they throw themselves away and that's the end of life, but I think failures, you learn a lot. I've gone through failures myself, and I opened up Pride of India, 3 years of struggle. Everything was fine, but something was wrong somewhere, and we learned from that actually. Business is not about just because I got money I can open up business actually, but if you have the passion for it, the burning desire to succeed, failures is part of it actually. If there's no failure, there's no success. You should know to handle both together actually. Even today, nothing is permanent. Yeah, we are successful in the market, we do not know what's tomorrow actually.
Is there a formula to recognize the best locations for your F&B outlets? I mean, what have you learned about the right place to position your restaurants or your gastropubs?
I would say I've always gone into the place where no one is there. And then someone else, and then it starts to build up, and people's like
What do you look for? What do you look for?
Strategic locations, I would say places which will grow. Sometimes you go to a place, you have that inner feeling that this is the right thing for you. I've always been like that. I can walk into a place, and if I don't feel right, I can just walk off, actually. But if I feel that, you walk into a place and say, okay, it's good. It's like buying a house, and you walk into the house and say, okay, this is it. You have that thing into you, telling you, okay, this is it. Actually, I always
that
gone
gut feeling.
The gut feeling, I would say, that inner sense of telling you, okay, go for it. I've never backed out into something after taking up. So, but then places plays a very big role, I say. Like Changkat we have been in Changkat from 2006. It's 2019 now, so 13 years in the same location. We've seen the good and the bad there. Places opening, places closing. But then, as business, we do not know how to hold on to the outlet. Business is something which you need to learn from basics. It doesn't happen overnight, actually. People do very well, and then after they're gone, they do not know how to handle finance, wrong staffing. You need to learn what you're doing.
Just taking Changkat as an example, you have 6 outlets there right now, and like you mentioned just a few minutes ago, the earliest opened in 2006. So it's basically stood the test of time. 13 years. Was there a shift in concept in order to keep things exciting, to keep people coming back in?
Very much. 2006, we opened up Ghazal. It was another Northern Indian restaurant. Then after, in 2009, I changed it to Sutraa. And over the years, I would say it makes 10 years now, 10th year of Sutraa actually in July, on July 1st. We are seeing Changkat change so much. From what we had 7-Elevens to people staying in the houses down there, and lawyers' firms and all that. Everything is gone. Right. And what you see now, it's all restaurants, bars, clubs into the place. So, yes, Changkat has changed. We have to change also. We can't be telling ourselves what we opened in 2006. We got to be the same way. I think people look for difference. People look for something exciting and new, and you have to live up to the times, actually.
How important is it that you focus on attracting tourists to your outlets? You mentioned earlier you work with Tourism Malaysia, and I noticed that you bill most of your outlets as tourist destinations. But shouldn't you be focusing on repeat customers or your regular customers?
People follow you. It doesn't have to be really. Changkat is something also which caters to the locals. At least my market will be at least 30% of the locals who come to Changkat. So I would safely say that I wouldn't say that I'm really into places where tourists are, but sometimes you also need to see about business point of view. You want also you also want the flow of business, the volume of business to build it up. Like Bangsar was something new, but Bangsar, yes, you get it's 99% locals there actually. So and if you take Penang, yes, Penang is something where we went to, and we went into the place where none was there. And then what has happened is it started to build up again on the same row itself, where strip restaurateurs, everything was around. So it's something. It's always locations which I always look at. It doesn't mean it have to be locals or it's tourists, but then. Into business, I would say wherever you're going, people follow you, and if it's a tourist area, it's better. It's much better. And we're talking about Genting, yes, 100% tourist. So only the locals which comes on the weekends there. So,
all right. The biggest issue F&B practitioners complain about to us on BFM mainly is manpower, human capital retention, how to motivate your workers, etc. How are you managing your staff, and how do you keep them happy?
Salaries on time.
Key one there. Okay, salary on time. Is there like a career progression plan?
Very much. I've got guys who started with me as waiters. They progressed as supervisors to assistant managers. My managers are mostly all locals, I would say, and. Keeping, how do you maintain staff? That's the biggest headache today, I would say, actually. If I get 100 ringgit extra, I jump to another place. So, but then how do you retain them back and keep them back? We have this thing of called, one is salaries. The second part is motivating them, training them. And most of them are, at least 70% of them are foreign workers. Who are into the section of waiters and the kitchen staff and everything. So what we do with them is basically contract basis. We tie them up for 4 years. Some of them have stayed for 8 years. It's a period of which they work for, and they're grown. See, everyone works for salary. Everyone works for the money. Actually, I will always say that I'm not paying their salary. The customer pays their salary. Actually, only if you're good to them will they come back. So motivation starts basically from that. And you can't always be an owner to them. Sometimes you got to put an hand on their shoulder and talk to them also. I've always been that person who I don't show them a difference if he's a waiter or if he's a cleaner or if he's a supervisor. Everyone's treated equally, and everyone has their fair share of good and bad of me. So I think they've understood me, and I would always say I have a vision. But are they working towards a vision, actually? So you got to have the right people to work for you. So it all starts from groundwork, actually. So from who you take and who you employ and who's working for you. So,
what would you say is the biggest or the most painful lesson you've learned about the F&B business in Malaysia?
Backstabbing.
Oh, okay. Not from staff, I hope.
No, not really. Today's thing, I would say, what people do to you is basically something. Is you never know they are from another. They could not be another player in the market. Actually, they come, they sit, they scan the menu, they scan the ideas, and they do it 10% better. So that's the market all about, actually. So people try to be better than you, but buying ideas and selling ideas is something which is difficult. But I wouldn't complain. That's the way F&B works. I do the same thing. I go overseas, I buy ideas. So, but then sometimes when you see your ideas somewhere else, people the old same kind of thing, which is taken up and it's done up somewhere else in the same way. It's people who work with you and people steal you. They don't steal you; they steal your ideas.
It's difficult to swallow.
It is.
All right. What about money? Has money ever been an issue? I mean, you have 17 outlets all across the country.
everything is in place, I guess. But I have to ask my accountant on that. But no, I look into financing also. I do my accounts. I go through my accounts on weekly basis, basically. We are, I would say, touch wood, self-sustained. We have tried to keep it on a low key, not overspending or jumping into something which we are unknown to. Many of them have done that because once you're into business, you want to put your hands into something else. I've safely kept it in the F&B, so our main financing goes back into the other outlets, new properties and everything, actually. So you don't have to waste money as water, actually. It's very hard to make it nowadays, but you got to know what you're doing. So it doesn't mean that you have to stand still and say you can't expand, but that's a process. If you want to or you don't want to. But then as a group, if you want a group to grow, you want the family to grow, you want new people coming in and the old ones growing up, that's the only way of expansion, actually.
All right, Leslie, and just before we go, are there future plans for the Olive Tree Group expanding to more outlets, different states, maybe going abroad?
Yes, I would say this year probably KK, Ipoh and Langkawi. It's in the pipeline. Yes, the target is 25, so probably another 2 years from now, and then into franchising, actually.
All right. Leslie, it's been a pleasure speaking to you. All the best
Thank
to you and the Olive Tree Group. 25 by 2020, right?
But if it's God's grace.
I've been speaking with Leslie Gomez, the founder and executive director of the Olive Tree Group. Now, if you miss any part of this show, you know what to do. Go look for the podcast on our website, bfm.my. You can also find our podcast on the BFM app, available now on the Apple App Store and on Google Play. And we are also on Spotify, so if you miss any part of my conversation with Leslie, you can listen to us on Spotify as well. My name is Audrey Raj, and on behalf of Leslie Gomez from the Olive Tree Group, thank you for listening to Open for Business, BFM 89.9.
Thank you for listening to this podcast. To find more great interviews, go to bfm.my or find us on iTunes. BFM 89.9, the business station.